We've now been joined by Josh Berry. Josh, thanks for spending some time with us today. We really appreciate you coming in. And in the interest of time, we'll go ahead and open for questions. If you have a question for Josh, go ahead and raise your hand. We'll work to get a mic around, and we'll go ahead and start with Stephen.
Stephen Toronto, CBS Sports. Josh, I guess just to follow up from the fairgrounds on Thursday night, can you explain exactly what the infraction was and what was found, and ultimately what led to the DQ?
Yeah, so to start, the pro late model race and super late model race, and they have a little bit different way of doing the weights post race. Like more from what I'm used to in Cars Tour or NASCAR, they allow you kind of just fill up the car with gas and weigh it, similar to what you would do pre-race. That's not how they do it on that, because they're more paying attention to the left side percentage, which is 58%, and those cars naturally gain left side weight as fuel burns off. So you have to leave yourself a buffer when you go through in pre-race inspection. And long story short, we just was, I guess, a little too tight on the buffer pre-race, and obviously it was really disappointing. Heartbreaking, honestly, for me, growing up in this area and have that come down to what it did. And when we were going through that post-race, I'm talking, we're down to hundredths of a percent was the difference, like 2 to 3 pounds. And we just, like I said, we didn't get it through. My initial roll on was 100th to the good, which was still too close, but 100th to the good. But my helmet was hanging on the hook right here and not in my hands, so they wouldn't allow that one. We had to roll back on, and then it moved a little bit the other way. And just partly it's on me, just not knowing all the procedures and just showing up and running and not knowing exactly how close it was going to be and how everything works, right? All that, when you're talking, it's down to a couple pounds. It matters how much fluid you took in the race, and post-race. Obviously, whether or not you hold your helmet, it was frustrating to say the least. But honestly, all the officials, they were really respectful to us. The race director he was really good with us. But yeah, like I said, that's the gist of it. I hope that all makes sense. Tried to explain it the best I could.
And I saw you shook hands with Trey Craig after he got declared the winner. I did see that Trey went to Victory Lane to shake hands with you after the race. Was that just a matter of returning the favor?
Well, honestly, up until that point, there was still indecision about what the final outcome was going to be. And I told him, like I'm not leaving here with y'all unsure what the final result is, and then I'm going to wake up in the morning and read you threw me out. Make the decision now so I can go shake Trey's hand and move on from it. And yeah, they said, this is the decision we're going to make. And I walked over there and shook his hand, and I felt like that was the right thing to do. I surely, I know that he doesn't want to be, didn't want to be in that position and win that way. But ultimately, rules are rules, and we were on the wrong side of it.
Gotcha. Thanks, Josh. Sorry about all that.
All right, we're continuing with questions over here with Larry Woody up front, please. Thank you. Hang on, Larry. There you go. There's your mic.
Josh, Larry Woody, you ran that race basically as a favor to the track to help her promote it. Will the experience sour you on it, or running more in the future, or have you had a chance to think about it?
No. It's difficult to run those races just with our schedule. They're expensive. I had a conversation with Ross a few weeks ago, right? And I asked him if he was going back, and he's like, man, it's just so hard to put a deal together, and it costs so much money to go do that, really. That would be the only thing that really, that makes it difficult to go do. But, rules are rules, right? It was close. Part of it is frustrating, but ultimately we just were too close on the tolerance. We should have left ourselves a little bit more margin for error, because that's how they police those race cars. The procedures are the same in pretty much all the series, whether how they police that and similar amongst those cars. So, I mean, really, it's just as much on, the team and myself as it is anything else, right? So, like, I don't really feel that way. I wish there was more cars. I wish there was more people there, but, I can't control any of that.
All right, go ahead.
Jonathan Howard on 3 Sports. Last year, this Cup Series race kind of delved into chaos at the end with the 5 overtimes, and you had a really great run going that ended with you spinning out. What's the mindset going into this weekend with the Wood brothers and with the win in your pocket as well?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's really changed too much from our side of things, right? Like, just try to have a good practice and qualifying today. Hopefully get ourselves some decent track position and a good pit stall, and go to work tomorrow and go racing, right? Like, we were, I felt like this has been a place that I've enjoyed coming to and ran pretty well over the years and had speed and everything. And I think if we obviously Miles and the guys have been doing a great job over the course of the season, bringing speed, and if we can just execute, from when we get on the track today, then I think we can have a chance at a good finish.
All right, we're going to go to Dalton, and then if I can get a mic up here to Dustin, please.
Hey, Josh. Dalton Hawkins with Front Stretch. So I'm sure you've seen the comment from Elton Sawyer this past week about the potential of increasing horsepower in the next-gen car. As somebody with as much short track experience as you have, do you feel like that is something this car needs to improve the product on short tracks? And if so, how much do you think it needs?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it needs more. The question, I think, boils down to how much more is it going to need to move the needle, right? Like, and I don't really have the answer to that. I think it probably needs to be pretty significant, which is going to be, what I hate to happen is if we go up 100 horsepower and it don't really look that different, and everybody's like, oh, that wasn't it, So, I mean, it's a combination of a lot of things, right? Like, I think it's the aero side of the things with the car, it's the horsepower, it's the tires, and honestly, it's technology. And, I raced a Pro Late model Thursday night, and when I got out front, my car drove a lot better than it was when I was tucked up behind somebody's bumper, right? Like, it's just technology, and the field's that close, and you can't overcome physics and aero. And so, yeah, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction, and if they go that route, and, we'll just see what happens.
All right, Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. How much have you gotten time or much time on the simulator going over Mexico at this point? Have you done much on that track?
Yeah, I have a little bit. It's definitely a pretty cool layout. It's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be passing zones. There's going to be issues with track limits in the S's, right? Because they're just tight. Like, you can just tell. To me, it's probably a little bit worse than COTA. I feel like, at least from speed gain standpoint, but it does appear like there's going to be grass on each side, so that's going to be a little bit different. But overall, like I said, I think it should put on a good race. That's what we want to see.
So with racing at a higher elevation, here talk about it's going to sap the horsepower. So is that factored in when you're doing it? Does it feel a bit slower comparatively, or do you get a sense of that in that?
It's hard to get a sense of that. Our engineers and everybody at Ford kind of was talking about that, and we're trying to recreate it, I guess, or, think about it. But I'll be honest, I've never had that experience, or, never raced in a higher elevation like that to really know how much it'll change things or not. Obviously, a bunch of other forms of racing have been there in different places. So obviously can communicate with those guys to get an idea, but I'm not really sure if it'll be enough to notice or not.
And is there anything you're doing or can do to prepare yourself and your body for racing at 7,500 feet elevation?
I don't know. I've never done that, right? So it's hard to say. It's something probably to think about a little bit, but thankfully we're going to be there on Thursday, it sounds like, so we'll have a couple days to acclimate to it. But I really haven't thought about that too much, I guess.
Josh, the in-season challenge, the top 32 after tomorrow night are in the field. With the focus on winning week to week, how much is there that thought about this, since the true racing for those who are in the top 32 kind of really begins in Atlanta? And the $1 million prize, is that something that gets your attention?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll all pay pretty close attention to it once it gets rolling. I think it's going to be exciting to follow and watch, and I'm sure we're going to go into the weekends and know who we're paired against and pay a little bit of attention to it. And obviously, there's a lot of money on the line, and potentially a lot of money on the line for a fan if they have a perfect bracket. I guess that's the way I understand it. So it'll be cool to follow. Like I said, it'll be a cool storyline, and I'm sure we'll pay a little bit of attention to it and who we're up against, and it should be fun.
All right, any final questions? Did I miss anybody? All right, Josh, thanks so much. Best of luck this weekend.
Yep.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We've now been joined by Josh Berry. Josh, thanks for spending some time with us today.